The hardest part is kissing your kids goodbye, because you don't know if you're going to see them again. It's so much easier when they're asleep, because you can just get out and they don't say anything. But when they're awake, they cry, and you don't know if that's the last thing you're going to see. That usually lasts for about 5 minutes in the car on the way to the command, and then it just clicks. You're ready to go. My first deployment with SEAL Team 6 was Afghanistan. My second was Iraq, and Afghanistan, Iraq again. I just realized how small the world is. I can imagine being over here and watching the wars, and you think that's so far away it doesn't even matter. Like people are detached from it. But you're a few hours away on a plane. It's just weird to be there for the first time. This is the place I've been hearing about on the news. The place is dangerous. It's a bad spot. We would work at night so that our day starts when the sun is going down. One night you'd go and it'd be literally an empty house. And the next night there would be 13 fighters inside. You never knew what you were going to get until you got there. We came up with a tactic to be quiet. Instead of blowing the door open, we'd pick locks or sneak in, so we would literally wake people up, Al-Qaeda. If we only killed 5 or 6 guys a night, we were wasting our time. We could have gone somewhere else, and that's a lot of dudes to be killing. We'd go in and a guy would be sleeping, up against the wall where his cologne, deodorant, soap, suicide vest, AK-47 and grenades, it's like he'd be sleeping right there. We had a target like that in Iraq. They started waking up and shooting at us. We ended up clearing about 7 or 8 houses, and we killed an entire cell of Al-Qaeda, probably 14 guys. No women were hurt, no children were hurt, but they were there. We were working with 2 dogs at the time. The dogs would sniff them out. The woman's quote in the newspaper was, "Ninjas came with lions." The reason we knew this was a special mission is because we just finished an Afghanistan deployment and were on a training trip diving in Miami when a few of us got recalled to the command in Virginia Beach. There was so much going on. The Libya thing, the Arab Spring. We knew something good was going to go down. We didn't know how good. The first day's briefing, they actually kind of lied to us, being very vague. They said it was a compound somewhere. We were going to have 2 aircraft get us there, and we don't know how many are inside, but we have to get something out. Literally, that was it. Then they said, we're leaving on Sunday morning, and we're going to drive down to Harvey Point, North Carolina, to get briefed again and start training. The Master Chief was saying Joint Special Operations Command would be there. The Secretary of Defense might be there. The PAC Afghan CIA Desk too. That's when the wheels started spinning for me. This is big. Sunday, 3 of us were driving. One of my guys says, "I bet it's bin Laden." The guy sitting next to me snapped his fingers and was like, "That's exactly what I've been thinking all weekend." Then the driver goes, "Man, if it's Osama bin Laden, dude, I'll suck your dick." So after I shoot UBL, I bring him over to see his body. Okay, now is as good a time as any. We were in a classroom and they actually had security sitting outside. No one else was allowed in. The SEAL commander, cool as ever, said, "Okay, we're as close as we've ever been to UBL." There was none of that cheering bullshit. We were thinking, yeah, okay, good. It's about time that we killed this motherfucker. They had to explain what the place looked like, how they found it, how they were watching it. There was one guy who was taller than anyone else that would walk around the yard. They called him the Pacer, and they didn't see him anywhere else except there. You could tell the CI analyst was excited. She wanted to say, "We got him. This is my life's work. I'm positive." But she leans towards 80%. 80% that the guy's going to be there. They had a mock-up there. We started training on that. They brought up helicopters. They had a planning table, the model of the place, and we just stand around and look at it. And then we started coming up with ideas. We had a lot of time planning this one. We're used to going on the fly. Here's your target, we're leaving in 20 minutes, come up with a plan. This compound was pretty easy. I was usually the guy to joke around when we were planning these things. We'd all dick around a lot. But I was like, hey guys, we have to take this fucking serious. There's a 90% chance this is a one-way mission. We're gonna die, so let's do this right. When we got to Nevada a few days later, we still didn't know what kind of aircraft we were using. We turned the corner, saw the helos we'd actually use, and I started laughing. Told the guys, the odds have just changed. There's a 90% chance we'll survive. They asked why, and I said, I didn't know they were sending us to war on a fucking Decepticon. The day before we launched, it was dark out still. We were at our camp in Jalalabad, and the CIA woman was pacing. She asked me why I was so calm. I told her, we do this every night. We go to a house, we fuck with some people, and we leave. This is just a longer flight. And I was like, I understand why you should be stressed, because you have to be right. We're just going. She looked at me and said, 100% he's on the 3rd floor, so get there if you can. Before we left on the buses to the helicopter, I made all my phone calls in my gear. I called my father. I found out later he was in a Walmart parking lot. I said, hey, it's time to go to work. Like, goodbye, nice knowing you. I thought there was a good chance of dying. He knew something significant was up, though he didn't know what. He started to tear up. He told me later that he sat in his pickup in that parking lot for an hour and couldn't get out of the car. We had to fly an hour and a half in and then an hour and a half out. We wanted to be in and out in the darkness. Every 15 minutes they'd tell us we hadn't been painted, meaning no radars hit us. I remember banking to the south, which meant we were getting ready to hit. My biggest concern was having to piss really bad and then having to get off in a fight needing to pee. I used one of my water bottles. I peed in that and I actually carried it through the whole mission. I forgot until later when I shot bin Laden in the face, I had a bottle of piss in my pocket. We opened the doors and I looked out. The area looked different than where we trained, because we're in Pakistan now. There are the lights, the city, there's a golf course. This is some serious Navy SEAL shit we're gonna do. This is so badass. The first helo had a hard landing. The nose hit the sand and then the tail stayed on the fence and it just stopped. They just jumped out and went to work. I was carrying a big-ass sledgehammer to blow through a wall if we had to. There was a gate on the northeast corner and we went right to that. We put a breaching charge on it, clacked it, and the door peeled like a tin can. But it was a fake gate with a wall behind it, like a Bugs Bunny house. They thought we'd waste our time on that, so they'd have time to prepare. But that was good. We knew someone was defending themselves. There was something good here. We were about to blow the next door on the north end when one of the guys from the bird that crashed came around the other side and opened it. We'd always assumed we'd be surrounded at some point. You see the videos of him walking around and he's got all those jihadis, but they weren't prepared. They got all complacent. The guys that could shoot shot, but we were on top of them so fast. One of the SEALs shot a guy and a woman. He told me, Jesus, these women are jumping in front of these guys. They're trying to martyr themselves. Another sign that this is a serious place. There's a hallway, there's a room here, there's a room here. The dead guy, the dead woman were right there on top of each other. You keep going further, there's 2 more rooms. And then there's the fucking door. That's the one we were just beating the piss out of, putting bombs off. I was holding down, watching them breach it. And I saw a girl about 5 crying in the corner. I went, picked her up, and brought her to another woman. There had to be 15 people downstairs, all sleeping together in that one room. The breacher had to blast the door twice for it to open. We started rolling up. I was about 5 guys back on the stairway when I saw the point man holding up. He'd seen Khalid, bin Laden's son. I heard him whisper, Khalid, come here, in Arabic, then in Pashto. That confused Khalid. He leaned out, armed with an AK, and he got blasted. He was dead on the stairs. We just stepped right over him and kept going. He was the last line of security. The point man moved past doors on the 2nd floor, and 4 of the 5 guys in front of me started to peel off to clear those rooms, which is always how the floor works. We're just clearing as we go, watching our backs. He's still the point man, and I move up to number 2. I turn around and look. There's nobody else coming up. The point man, at that time, saw bin Laden on the 3rd floor peeking around a curtain. The point man took a shot, maybe 2, and bin Laden disappeared back into a room. There were 2 chicks yelling at us, and the point man was yelling at them, and he said to me, hey, we need to get moving. By then, we realized we weren't getting more guys. We had to move, because bin Laden is now going to be grabbing some weapon because he's getting shot at. I had my hand on the point man's shoulder and squeezed, a signal to go. The 2 of us went up. On the 3rd floor, he tackled the 2 women in the hallway right outside the first door on the right, moving them past it just enough. He thought he was going to absorb the blast of a suicide vest. He was going to kill himself so I could get the shot. I rolled past him into the room. There was bin Laden standing there. He had his hands on a woman's shoulders, pushing her ahead in the direction of the hallway commotion. It was his youngest wife, Amal. He can hear, but he can't see. It was a snapshot of a target ID. Definitely him. Even in our kill houses where we train, there are targets with his face on it. I thought in that first instant how skinny he was, how tall, how short his beard was, all at once. I don't know if she's got a vest and she's being pushed to martyr them both. He's got a gun within reach. He's a threat. In that second, I shot him 2 times in the forehead. He crumpled on the floor in front of his bed and I hit him again. He was dead. I remember as I watched him breathe out that last part of air, I thought, is this the best thing I've ever done? Or the worst thing I've ever done? This is real, and that's him. Holy shit. Back at the Jalalabad base, we pulled bin Laden out of the bag to show Admiral McRaven and the CIA. Bin Laden looked a little bit different than I expected in the light. I had to sit there and look at him. I brought the agency woman over. Is that your guy? She was crying. That's when I took my magazine out of my gun and gave it to her as a souvenir. That was the last time I saw her. I was like, this is awesome, this is great, we lived. I'm eating a breakfast sandwich, standing near bin Laden's body, looking at a big screen TV with the president announcing the raid. I'm watching him, looking at the body, looking at the president, eating a sausage, egg, cheese, and extra bacon sandwich thinking, how the fuck did I get here? This is too much.
Did you think your life would change when this happened?
Yeah. I still didn't know if it would be good or bad. I didn't know which way it would go. The good was having done something great for my country, for the guys, for the people in New York. It was closure.
And on the bad side?
He was their prophet. Now we killed him and I have to worry about this forever. Al-Qaeda, especially these days, is 99% talk. But that 1% of the time they do shit, it's bad. They're capable of horrific things. We started debriefing, and that's when they started bringing up the idea of the witness protection program, and they still are. They told me they could get me a job driving a beer truck in Milwaukee, like any whistleblower in the mafia. We'd lose everything.
So imagine tomorrow there's a story somewhere in the national press. So here are the guys who were on the mission. You hear their real names, and you're all on jihadi websites. What do you think is going to happen?
The command would try to round up the families and get them somewhere safe, but that's it. That's totally reactive. If someone attacks a family, you're not going to have time to assemble a group to go get them. Who would they send anyway? I told my ex-wife to put the kids in the tub and grab the shotgun, put it against the wall so it doesn't hurt your shoulder, and when they get to the door, shoot at the door. Shit like that until I can reinforce the door. Basically, she needs to barricade herself in until the cops arrive. And even if the cops arrive and the threats are serious, they're not going to be a match for these guys either. She has a packed suitcase with all the things the family needs for 4 days, and it just sits there. My kids have a fucking bolt bag. That's what I call it. It's like packed. And if something comes out, I call her. Like, get in the fucking car, grab the suitcase, and just go.
And what about you? What's the plan for you?
I don't really have a plan. As arrogant as it sounds, I'm not afraid of these fucking guys.
Like you're ready for anything, everything, and anything. I think that's the quote for the SEALs, right?
Right.
But you're not ready for this, right?
I don't have the resources.
If you had the resources, what would you do?
I would build a high-security house with a high-security fence, change their names, move them somewhere, and watch my route when I go see them.
But then you're going to have paparazzi and all that shit.
Yeah.
You ever dealt with that?
No. I don't know how to deal with that. The big mission changed a lot of attitudes around the command. A certain number of guys got picked, but because the other guys didn't get picked, there's a lot of jealousy. There were suspicions about whether anyone was selling out. I deployed again to Afghanistan to show I wasn't a douchebag, that I'm still a part of this team, and I believe in what we're doing. My feeling now has changed, which is part of the reason I got out. A lot of the missions they're going on are going to be a waste of really good lives. When I started separating from the life in March, after my deployment, it was the jump trip, the training jumps. The more I got away from it, I started to realize that even jumping is like, shit, that's kind of dangerous. You put a bundle on and you jump out of a plane with a 500-pound barrel attached to you. I don't have a desire to do that anymore. And then I started thinking about the combat and holy shit, we were just sticking it out there for years. This was a dangerous job. And the further I got away, holy shit, these guys are crazy. I was burned out. I'm done. I left the SEALs on a Friday. They're starting to see guys leave, and we're going to see more of it. The government doesn't want us talking about anything. So basically, I leave the Navy and I can't say anything. Here I am, without a degree, and 16 years of doing nothing. I'm sorry for the last 16 years I've been doing this, and I didn't have a chance to read the same book everyone else is reading to get a fucking degree. But that's the fear of not being marketable, because I don't have that degree.
So you want to have a degree. What else?
Healthcare is a need. I still have the same bills I had in the Navy. I need to find employment. I'd like to do something that has nothing to do with my past. I don't want to carry a gun. I don't have a need for excitement anymore, honestly. In 5 years, what I'd like to do is have a platform for guys who are in the same position as me right now, to be able to come out and get work in a field that they want. And then I'd like to have a foundation for the families as well. Families of guys from SEAL Team 6 that have died.
And you're just going to say you're a SEAL. That's the plan.
The term SEAL Team 6 is going to be declassified, and I'm thinking it technically already is because of the people saying it so much.
It's like you got talented, dedicated, brave guys. I mean, there's nothing classified about that. What do you think they're concerned about? Giving the enemy information? It's all out there.
Yeah, I don't understand. The secrecy's kind of dead. The Pakistanis got to comb that house after we were there. They could tell everything that happened.
What do your kids know? Did you talk to them about this mission?
They know I shoot bad guys. When I got back, I was sitting on the couch one day, and all the news is covering this. And my kid says his name out loud. And I said, "You need to not say that name ever again anywhere to anybody. It's a bad name. It's a curse name." So we were sitting there again, and his face came up. And my kid said, so proud, "Dad, look, it's Poopy Face." A year after bin Laden's death, I had the kids up at a water park. I remember we were getting changed to go play in the water. I was watching CNN and they were saying, "So now we're taking viewer emails. Do you remember where you were when you found out that Osama bin Laden was dead?" And I was thinking, of course, I remember exactly where I was. I was in his bedroom looking down at his body.